John Longworth joins us, co-chair of Leave Means Leave, former Director General of the British Chambers of Commerce. John, very good evening.
Good evening.
Why shouldn't the people have a say in whatever the government brings back, whatever deal they bring back? We had a referendum to trigger the process. Why shouldn't we have a referendum to ratify it?
Well, there are a lot of reasons why why we shouldn't be in that situation. You know, is it best of three? If we had a referendum that upheld the original decision, then clearly it would be a leave situation. If we had it reversed, do we then go for a third referendum to see best out of three? I mean, where does it end?
Well,
the fact of the matter is...
I suppose if the question was, as Michael Heseltine wants it to be, do you accept this deal or should we stay in, then you've got a valid point there. If the question is, do you accept this deal or shall we leave without a deal, we would still be leaving, wouldn't we?
Yes. But Parliament has been given the job of deciding that. I mean, one of the problems with this whole thing is that the European Union has a history. I mean, it's got history in this respect. Every time a country has voted in a way in a referendum that they don't like, they put pressure on the government of the country to reverse it, to have another referendum. It happened in Ireland, it happened in France, and it happened in the Netherlands. The Remain establishment in this country, in cahoots with the European Union, have done everything possible to frustrate the will of the people. And when I say the will of the people, it's not just a referendum. You know, 85% of the people in this country voted for parties that had it in their election manifesto at the last election that we would leave the customs union and the single market.
But if you are so confident of your position, I mean, why not put it to another vote? Because if it isn't put to another vote, this is just going to fester on like a running sore, isn't it?
Now, I think because of the resistance of the left Liberal establishment of the country, rather than getting on and embracing the opportunities of Brexit, they have done everything possible to scupper the government's negotiating position and make Britain have the worst possible deal that we can get.
Well, the government's let them do that, hasn't it, to be fair?
Then clearly, well, because the government, of course, has a number of Remainers within it, to say the least. The fact of the matter is that the British people voted for a clean break with the European Union, and at the moment we're heading for a situation where we could have a very bad deal if we're not careful. What I think will happen, of course, in that situation is that Parliament itself will vote down that deal, and we will simply leave without a deal. And in fact, no deal is far better than a bad deal.
Do you think that the Leave side can fight off this growing desire, and you call it the liberal left establishment? I think it's going a little bit wider than that. I think there is a growing feeling among many people, I haven't met many Leavers who believe this, I have to say, that a second referendum is not only desirable, it will actually happen. And I don't see too many voices on the Leave side of the argument really able to rebut this. Now, you're doing it now, but I think the argument is going by default in many ways.
No, I don't agree with that at all. I mean, the government have been very clear. They set out in their election manifesto that we were going to leave the single market, the customs union, and remove ourselves from the jurisdiction of the ECJ. They're actually setting out to negotiate to do that. There will be a meaningful vote in front of Parliament on the deal. The deal will either be accepted or rejected by one side or the other. The fact is that we are, in fact, under the Article 50 process, leaving the European Union, and that's that. We're leaving. And what we're now debating is the manner in which we leave, and what we ought to be doing is all getting behind the opportunities, which are very substantial opportunities, when we leave the European Union, provided we're able to actually crystallise them.
Well, it would be a nice thing if government ministers would actually come on the media sometimes and tell us what all these massive opportunities are, because you do, but there are so few others that are making this case. And as I say, I think that the argument in many ways is going by default. John, thank you very much. That's John Longworth, co-chair of Leave Means Leave.